While you are still in bed, someone has already conquered the day. While you negotiate for 5 more minutes of sleep, someone has already closed a deal. While you drag yourself to the shower, someone has already mastered a skill. Benjamin Franklin would say you aren't just losing time. You are surrendering your life, hour by hour, to those who discovered what he called the invisible architecture of success. Franklin was not an accidental genius. He was a meticulous architect of his own existence. And what he discovered wasn't about working harder, it was about living differently. In the next few minutes, you will go behind the scenes of the routine that transformed a boy with no formal education into the most influential man of his generation, a man who invented, wrote, governed, negotiated, and prospered while others merely survived. If you've ever wondered how some people achieve so much while you struggle to complete your to-do list, get ready. What you are about to discover isn't about productivity. It's about life design. It's about a structure Franklin created 250 years ago that still separates those who build empires from those who only dream of them. The secret isn't in what he did, it's in when and how he did it. Benjamin Franklin woke up every day at 5 in the morning. But he didn't jump from the bed straight to work. He had a ritual. The first thing he did was stand naked before an open window, regardless of the Philadelphia cold, for 15 minutes. His neighbors thought he was crazy, but Franklin was doing something revolutionary. He called it an air bath. Modern science would discover centuries later that cold exposure activates the nervous system, increases focus, and triggers the production of norepinephrine. Franklin didn't know the chemistry, but he knew the effect. He wrote, "My body wakes up, but my mind must wake up too. The cold is the alarm clock of consciousness." While others woke up slow and confused, Franklin was fully present, fully alert. The war was already won in the first 15 minutes. After the air bath came the most important question of the day. Franklin sat at his desk and wrote at the top of a page, "What good shall I do this day?" It wasn't a to-do list, it was a declaration of intent, a moral and practical compass. He didn't ask, "What do I need to do?" but "What good shall I do?" The difference is massive. The first question leads you to react. The second leads you to create. The first turns you into a slave to urgency. The second makes you the architect of your destiny. Franklin spent 20 minutes every day answering this question. He defined his 3 priorities. Not 10. Not 20. 3. And those 3 things were non-negotiable. He discovered something that neuroscience would only confirm in the 21st century. The human brain cannot sustain quality focus on more than 3 complex goals per day. Try to do 10 important things, and you will do 10 things poorly. Focus on 3, and you will change your life in 90 days. Franklin lived this for 60 years, and you can verify the results. But here is the secret nobody tells you. These 3 priorities weren't random. Franklin organized them according to what he called the sacred triad of progress. The first priority was always something to expand his mind, reading a difficult book, studying a new concept, learning a skill. He understood that a stagnant mind creates a stagnant life. The second priority was always something to expand his influence, writing an article, building a relationship, solving a community problem. Franklin knew that solitary success is an illusion. Wealth comes from networks, not isolated effort. The third priority was always something to expand his resources, earning money, investing in a business, creating a system. He didn't romanticize poverty. He understood that money buys the freedom to think. These 3 priorities, tackled in the morning when the mind was fresh and the world was still quiet, produced more results than 12 hours of reactive work. Franklin called this the rule of morning triplication. But then comes the part most people ignore. From 8 in the morning until noon, Franklin worked. But not in the way you imagine. He had a radical concept, sacred blocks of deep focus. No meetings. No interruptions. No, just a minute. 4 hours of uninterrupted work on a single task. His print shop had express orders. Mr. Franklin is not to be disturbed under any circumstances before noon, except for fire or death. Sound extreme? Franklin calculated that 4 hours of deep focus produced the equivalent of 12 hours of fragmented work. He observed his competitors, always busy, always occupied, always running from meeting to meeting. And they were always poor, always late, and always stressed. Meanwhile, working half their time, he prospered. The math was simple but devastating. If you work 8 hours a day but are interrupted every 20 minutes, you never enter a state of flow. Your brain spends energy reorienting itself after every interruption. By the end of the day, you've worked 8 hours but produced perhaps 2 hours of real results. Franklin flipped this. 4 hours without interruptions produced 8 hours of results. At noon, Franklin stopped. Completely. It didn't matter if he was in the middle of a project. Noon was sacred. Why? Because he discovered the law of mental saturation. After 4 hours of intense focus, the brain needs to rest, or it begins to produce work of decreasing quality. You work more but produce less. Worse, you make mistakes you'll have to correct later. So from noon to 2 in the afternoon, Franklin did something his contemporaries considered scandalous. He ate lunch slowly, read for pleasure, talked with friends, or simply walked the streets of Philadelphia observing people. He called it strategic leisure. And here is the paradox that changes everything. In those moments of apparent time-wasting, his brain processed everything it had absorbed in the morning. Patterns emerged. Connections formed. Solutions to impossible problems appeared out of nowhere. Franklin recorded that his greatest ideas never came while he was working intensely. They came during leisure. The electricity problem he solved? An insight during lunch. The organization of the first public library? An idea during a walk. The mind needs 2 states, focus and diffusion. Focus to absorb information, diffusion to process and connect. Most people stay stuck in focus mode all day without giving time for diffusion. The result? A lot of work, little creativity. Much effort, little result. Franklin balanced the two, and the difference was explosive. From 2 in the afternoon until 6, Franklin went back to work. But not to creative work. This period was for what he called mechanical tasks. Answering correspondence, organizing documents, supervising employees. Tasks that didn't require genius, only attention. He used the period of decreasing energy for decreasing energy tasks. A perfect symmetry between resource and demand. At 6 in the evening, Franklin closed the shop. No exceptions. No, just 1 more hour. He had a rule that shocked his contemporaries. Work that does not fit into the proper time does not deserve to be done. If he couldn't complete something in his focus windows, it was because the project was poorly planned or wasn't truly important. Most people work late not because they have too much work, but because they lack clarity. From dinner until 9 at night, Franklin had what he called his hour of consciousness. He reviewed the day with a brutal question, "What good have I done today?" And he compared it with the morning's intention. If he had met his 3 priorities, he celebrated. If not, he coldly analyzed why. No self-pity. No excuses. Just data. He kept a journal where he tracked 13 virtues he considered essential. Temperance, silence, order, resolution, frugality, industry, sincerity, justice, moderation, cleanliness, tranquility, chastity, and humility. Every night, he marked where he had failed. Not to punish himself, but to map patterns. He treated his life like a scientific experiment, and the results were measurable. Franklin discovered that most people live on autopilot. They react to their days. They don't build them. They wake up without intention, work without strategy, and sleep without reflection. And then they wonder why, 5 years later, They are in the same place. He reversed this. Every day was deliberate. Every hour had a purpose. Every action was an experiment. At 9 at night, Franklin went to bed. No negotiation. Because he understood the recovery equation. 8 hours of quality sleep produced 16 hours of quality performance. 7 hours of sleep reduced performance by 30%. 6 hours by 50%. He saw men working 12, 14 hours a day, destroying their own cognitive capacity, working more, achieving less. But Franklin's sleep was not ordinary. He had rituals. First, he opened all the windows, no matter the cold. Fresh air, he insisted, was essential for deep sleep. Second, he mentally reviewed 3 things he was grateful for. Gratitude, he discovered, calmed the anxious mind. Third, he vividly imagined his goals already achieved. Visualization before sleep programmed the subconscious. Modern neuroscience confirms all of this. Fresh air improves brain oxygenation. Gratitude reduces cortisol. Visualization before sleep activates memory consolidation and creative problem-solving during sleep. Franklin didn't know the mechanisms, but he mastered the principles. He transformed 8 hours of sleep into 8 hours of mental programming. And so we come to the secret nobody wants to hear. Franklin's routine wasn't about productivity, it was about identity. He didn't ask, what should I do today? But, who should I become today? Every action was a vote for the person he wanted to be. Waking at 5 was a vote for discipline. Reading every morning was a vote for wisdom. Reviewing the day was a vote for consciousness. Most people try to change results without changing identity. They want to be rich but identify as, I'm not good with money. They want to be healthy but identify as, I'm not a gym person. They want to be productive but identify as, I'm not a morning person. Franklin understood that you don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. So he built a routine that, repeated daily, transformed him into the person capable of achieving what he desired. It wasn't willpower. It was identity design. Each day was a brick. In a year, a house. In 5 years, a city. In 60 years, a legacy that spanned centuries. While others worked hard, Franklin worked right. And here is the revelation that changes everything. You don't need Franklin's routine. You need the principles behind it. First principle, start the day with intention, not reaction. Second, work in blocks of deep focus, not scattered fragments. Third, balance focus with strategic rest. Fourth, use decreasing energy for decreasing tasks. Fifth, end the day with consciousness, not collapse. Sixth, sleep as if your life depends on it. Because it does. From now on, when you wake up tomorrow, ask Franklin's question, what good shall I do today? And when you lie down, ask the second question, what good have I done today? Between those 2 questions, build your architecture. Don't copy his, create yours. But use the principles. Because while you are trying to find time, someone is creating time. While you are waiting for motivation, someone is building a system. While you sleep without intention, wake without purpose, and work without strategy, someone is living the routine Franklin taught. And the distance between you isn't in talent, it's in the architecture. The question Franklin left for you to answer is simple: how much longer will you waste living by accident? Because if there is one thing he proved in 60 years of deliberate living, it is this: routine is not a prison. Routine is freedom. It is the freedom from having to decide everything all over again every day. It is the freedom to become who you chose to be. Tomorrow morning, when your eyes open, you will have a choice. Hit snooze and keep being who you've always been. Or get up, ask the question, and start building who you will be. The routine is waiting. Not his. Yours. And it starts now.